My name is Bella Ruiz. I'm 29 years old, and a few months ago, I proposed to my boyfriend and watched him look at me like I'd handed him a problem instead of a future. I wish that was the worst part. From the outside, my life looked solid. I managed logistics for a regional distribution company. Spreadsheets, shipments, and schedules are my daily bread. I'm not flashy, but my bills are paid on time, my plants are alive, and my coffee machine is my most stable relationship. Or so I thought. And then there was Jake. Jake and I met 3 years ago at my friend Liam's housewarming party. He was the tall, easy smile guy standing in the kitchen, pretending to help with the dishes while actually just talking to everyone. He worked in marketing, told stories with his hands, and laughed like everything in life was just a mildly amusing game he was winning. Liam introduced us. Jake stuck his hand out and said, "Bella, right? I've heard way too much about your terrifying color-coded spreadsheets." I rolled my eyes. "They're efficient, not terrifying." He grinned. "You can be both." I should have known right then he liked to play with people's edges. The first 2 years were good, great even. Traveling when we could, Netflix when we couldn't, stupid little rituals that felt like ours. One night, after we joked about being cat parents, I went all in. I got him an orange tabby kitten from a rescue, tiny, wide-eyed, with a red ribbon tied awkwardly around his neck. I put him in a small box, poked air holes, and waited. Jake opened the lid, and the kitten's head popped up like a glitching jack-in-the-box. "Oh my God," Jake laughed, scooping him up. "You got us a cat." "His name is Milo," I said, suddenly nervous. "If you want him to be." Jake pulled me into a hug. Milo squished between us. "He's perfect. You're perfect." That night we lay on the couch, Milo asleep on Jake's chest, and I thought, this is it. This is home. Last year we moved in together. 2 incomes, 1 lease, 1 overflowing litter box. We talked about the future constantly, half joking, half dead serious. Kids someday. Maybe a house closer to Liam. Maybe a little backyard where Milo could pretend to be a lion. And then Jake started doing that thing. The ring thing. Instagram stories of engagement rings with "someday" my captions. Wedding TikToks blasting on his phone at full volume. Casual comments like, "Can you imagine our wedding playlist?" Or, "Would you take my last name or hyphenate?" I'd laugh, play along, but inside, something warm and terrified bloomed. I'd never been the girl who daydreamed about a white dress, but building something stable and real with someone, that I wanted. So I did what logistics people do. I made a plan. I saved up 3 paychecks, skipped takeout, packed sad little Tupperware lunches, said no to a weekend trip with friends. I went to a jeweler and picked out a princess-cut ring I knew he'd like. Clean lines, simple band, nothing too flashy. The exact style he'd shown me in screenshots, minus the price like a small car part. Then I made reservations at Romano's, the Italian place he'd been talking about for months. Brick walls, twinkle lights, ridiculous truffle pasta. I told him it was just a date night. What he didn't know was that I'd texted our closest friends, "Be at Romano's at 9. If he says yes, we surprise him together." The night of, my hands shook as I did my makeup. Milo sat on the bathroom counter, tail flicking disinterestedly. "This is for us," I told him, sliding the ring box into my bag. "For our family." He yawned, which felt rude. Romano's was loud, cozy, the way it always was. Jake looked annoyingly good in a navy button-down, sleeves rolled up, forearms doing too much. We joked, we ate, we shared dessert. My heart pounded so hard I could barely taste anything. I waited until the server cleared the plates. My palms were damp. I wiped them on my dress and stood up. Jake frowned. "Bells, you okay?" I walked around to his side of the table, my legs shaking. The entire restaurant seemed to slow down, like the universe was holding its breath with me. "Jake," I said, voice trembling, "I love you." His eyes widened. He knew. Of course he knew. I dropped to one knee. The box felt huge in my hand as I opened it, the ring catching the warm restaurant light. Some woman at the next table gasped softly. "Jake Thompson," I said, my throat tight. "Will you marry me?" Silence. He stared at the ring, then at me, then at the ring again. The color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. He glanced around. The scrape of a chair somewhere in the room sounded like a gunshot. Conversation dimmed. People were watching. "I need time to think about it," he said finally. My brain didn't process the words at first. He mispronounced yes, I thought weakly. That had to be it. Then his expression registered. Not overwhelmed, not emotional. Cornered. The pit opened in my stomach. It's a lot, he added, like that helped. Can we just talk about it later? The server froze mid-step, plates in hand. Someone coughed. The twinkle light suddenly felt cruel. I forced a smile that tasted like blood. Yeah, of course. Sure. I snapped the box shut and climbed back into my chair. My knees were numb. The conversation in the restaurant tried to restart around us, clumsy and awkward. On the ride home, the silence between us was louder than traffic. I watched streetlights flash over his profile as he stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Finally, he sighed. The ring it's not exactly what I pictured. I blinked. What? He kept his eyes on the road. I showed you that one from Tiffany's, remember? With the bigger diamond? And Romano's is, I don't know, kind of loud, not very romantic. Jake, I said slowly, you've been talking about Romano's for months. Yeah, for dinner, he snapped. Not for that. He said that like it was something embarrassing I'd done in public. My face burned. I can exchange the ring, I offered quietly. If it's just the ring. It's not just the ring, he cut in, exhaling hard. I just think we should wait. Make sure we're really ready. It's not a no, it's just not right now. Not right now. The words hung between us like a stop sign. When we got home, he went straight to the bedroom. No hug, no conversation, no Milo snuggles. The bedroom door clicked shut. I lay on the couch with Milo on my chest, staring at the ceiling, while his purr rattled through my bones. My brain rewound the night in an endless loop. What did I do wrong? Was it too soon, too public, too much? The next morning, Jake acted like nothing happened. He kissed my cheek on the way out the door. We'll revisit it in a few months, he said lightly, when you have a better plan. A better plan. Like I'd presented a bad pitch in a meeting instead of my heart. I smiled tightly and closed the door behind him. Milo twined around my ankles, meowing for breakfast. Don't look at me like that, I muttered. I thought it would go differently, too. Over the next week, the shift was subtle, almost deniable. Jake was on his phone more, angled just out of sight. He claimed he was working late again. He started taking calls in the bedroom instead of on the couch next to me. When I asked if everything was okay, he huffed. Just because I didn't immediately say yes doesn't mean something's wrong, Bella. You're being paranoid. Maybe I was. Except paranoia doesn't usually come with evidence. One night, I was scratching Milo under his chin on the couch when Jake's phone lit up on the coffee table. I wasn't trying to snoop. My eyes just landed on the screen. A name I didn't recognize. Clara. Can't wait for Friday. Our usual spot? My hand froze on Milo's fur. By the time I looked up, Jake was already reaching for his phone, a little too fast. Who's Clara? I asked, keeping my voice light. He locked the screen in one smooth motion. Just a friend from work. We're doing a team lunch on Friday. Our usual spot didn't sound like a team lunch. I smiled, because apparently that's what I do when my stomach is falling through the floor. Must be nice to have a usual. He shrugged, already walking toward the hallway. It's not a big deal, Bells. Don't make it one. The door to the bedroom clicked shut behind him. Milo hopped into the warm space his phone had left on the couch and curled up, eyes half closed. I stared at the dark TV screen, heart pounding. I didn't know who Clara was. I didn't know what our usual spot meant. But every part of me knew one thing with bone-deep clarity. Something was very, very wrong. And I wasn't going to wait around to be blindsided. Not this time. I didn't go nuclear right away. I did what I always do when life threatens to spin out. I tried to organize it. The next morning, I told myself I was overreacting. Clara could be harmless. Our usual spot could be a cafe near the office. Maybe Jake had just named a table? Denial has such a pretty voice when it wants to. Liam called at lunchtime. So, how's the engagement glow? I stared at the faint circle on my palm where the ring box had pressed the night before. There is no engagement glow. I told him what happened at Romano's. The I need time to think. The ring criticism. The comment about a better plan. Liam went very quiet. I could practically hear him rearranging his words carefully on the other end. And now there's Clara, I finished. What Clara? His voice sharpened. I gave him the short version. Suspicious text. Our usual spot. Team lunch. Bells, he said slowly. You know I love you, right? That's usually the prelude to something I won't like. I'm not saying he's cheating, he said, but I am saying something's off. You don't go from begging for ring TikToks to meh, not romantic enough overnight. I rubbed my forehead. I don't want to jump to conclusions. Then don't, he said. But don't gaslight yourself either. Trust your gut. Just pay attention. Pay attention. It sounded so simple, heavy as a commandment. That's how, 2 days later, I found myself at a cramped little coffee shop 2 blocks from our apartment. Jake hated the place, said the coffee was overpriced burnt water and the chairs were designed by a sadist, which made it perfect for me. Close enough to home to feel familiar, far enough from his routines that I wouldn't run into him. Or so I thought. I picked a booth half hidden behind a giant plant, set up my laptop, and pretended to work. My headphones were in, but no music played. Milo's photo was my desktop background, his orange face filling the screen, looking perpetually confused. I was halfway through rereading an email for the 3rd time when I heard it. His laugh. Familiar, easy, a sound that used to untie knots in my chest. Everything in me went still. I angled my face toward my screen, heart hammering, and watched their reflections in the window. Jake, in the blue jacket he wore on casual days at work. And across from him, a guy I recognized vaguely from a company holiday party. Mark, I thought his name was. They didn't see me. The plant between our booths and the angled mirror behind the bar made it easy for me to be invisible. I thought about standing up, saying hi, letting coincidence do what suspicion hadn't. Then I heard my own name. She really thought I'd say yes, Jake said, voice edged with amusement. Like, drop to one knee in a restaurant, yes. Mark's eyebrows lifted. She actually did it? Damn, bold. Jake snorted. Bold, desperate, pick a word. The air in my chest evaporated. Mark shifted uncomfortably. I mean, you guys have been together a while. It's not crazy that she thought... Dude, relax, Jake said. It's not like I'm never going to get married. I don't want to lock myself down with the first woman who buys a cat and a lease with me. They both laughed. Something cold crept up my spine, like someone had poured ice water into my lungs. Milo, our baby. The late-night vet runs, the joint decisions about litter brands, reduced to a punchline over cheap cappuccinos. Mark lowered his voice. So what's the plan? You can't keep her hanging forever. Jake leaned back, casual, like he'd thought this through. Bella's not going anywhere. She's stabilizing, you know? She pays bills on time, keeps the apartment running. It'd be stupid to blow that up before. Everything's ready. Everything, I repeated silently. The word tasted like poison. And Clara? Mark asked. Of course. Of course that was where this was going. Jake's mood shifted. His smile softened into something hungrier. Clara is worth the wait. She's not some mid-level logistics manager. She's got actual potential, connections. She gets the life I want. I felt my face go hot, then numb. Mark frowned. Isn't she married? Details, Jake said lightly. It's practically over. She and Ethan are just untangling. Once his situation is settled, she's done. It's just timing. Okay, but where does Bella fit in, man? Mark asked. You gonna juggle forever? Jake tapped his fingers on the table, thinking. Bella's transitional. The word hit me like a slap. What does that even mean? Mark asked. Jake shrugged. She's a bridge. She's the before picture. We live together. It's comfortable. She's sweet. She's like the safety net you use until you're ready to jump for the real thing. Transitional, safety net. I stared at my hands. At the faint half moons my nails were digging into my palms. I had never felt more solid and more invisible in my life. Mark stared at him. That's brutal, man. Jake laughed. Come on, don't act like you're not impressed. She literally bought a ring. I didn't have to do anything. If I wanted to, I could snap my fingers and be engaged tomorrow. Then why didn't you just say yes? Mark asked. Jake took a sip of his drink, lips curling. Because the timing sucks. Clara's still untangling her life. You think I'm going to sign up for a mortgage and kids with Bella just to rip it all apart once Clara's free? No thanks. I'd rather keep Bella on the hook. Let her think we're almost there while I wait it out. My stomach rolled. And if she proposes again? Mark pressed. Jake shrugged like it was nothing. Then I do what I have to. I say yes. I fake it for a while. Couple posts on Instagram, maybe a cute engagement shoot. And when Clara's ready? He snapped his fingers. I break it off. Messy, sure, but whatever. That's future Jake's problem. Bella will be wrecked, Mark said quietly. Jake smiled, cruel and careless. She'll cry into her cat for a few weeks and move on. People like Bella always do. Besides, she's the one trying to rush things. I'm just letting it play out. I could feel my heartbeat in my teeth. My laptop screen blurred. For a second, I thought I might be sick right there on the table. Mark shook his head. You're really going to marry one woman while waiting for another to be available? Jake's eyes gleamed. I'm going to leverage the situation. Big difference. Leverage. Like my love was a coupon he'd clip until something better went on sale. That seems harsh, Mark said. You guys have built a life together. Built? Jake scoffed. She built it. I'm just enjoying the amenities until I upgrade. Upgrade. The word made me grip the edge of the table so hard my fingers hurt. They drifted into other topics after that. Work drama, someone's promotion, a joke about their boss's terrible haircut. I heard another name too, Clara's, tossed casually into the conversation like she wasn't the lit match hovering over my life. Miami, Jake was saying. Conference my ass. Clara and I are going to be sipping margs on the beach while Bella thinks I'm trapped in hotel seminars. Mark chuckled weakly. You're playing with fire, man. Jake sounded utterly unconcerned. I've got this under control. They stood to leave a few minutes later. I shrank into the shadow of the plant, heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted out. They walked past without seeing me, but someone else did. A woman in a neat blazer, laptop bag slung over her shoulder. She had been sitting diagonally across from them, pretending to scroll on her phone. I vaguely recognized her from a holiday party as one of Jake's coworkers. She slowed as she passed my booth, eyes flicking to my face, to my frozen hands, to Milo's photo glowing on my laptop. Recognition clicked in her eyes like a light. You're Bella, right? She said softly. My mouth felt full of sand. Yeah. She glanced toward the door, where Jake and Mark were already stepping into the sunlight, laughing over something. Her expression pinched. She leaned in just enough that only I could hear. You deserve better, she whispered. I swallowed hard. I already know. Her face tightened, like that answer hurt her on some level. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say more, then flinched when her phone buzzed. Be careful, she said instead. Jake likes to think he's smarter than everyone else. Then she walked out, shoulders squared, leaving me in the booth with my hands shaking and Milo's face staring up at me like a tiny, judgmental witness. I sat there long after they left, listening to milk steam and cups clink and the low hum of other people's harmless problems. I replayed every word Jake had said. Transitional, safety net, upgrade, leverage. A bridge he planned to walk across and then burn. Something shifted inside me then, a quiet, precise click, like a lock turning. I realized I'd been standing at the edge of a truth I didn't want to see. Now it was standing in front of me, undeniable and ugly. Jake wasn't confused. He wasn't scared of commitment. He wasn't overwhelmed by the public proposal. He was planning a strategy, and I had just learned his entire playbook. My phone vibrated on the table. Liam's name lit up the screen. I stared at it for a second, then swiped to answer. Hey, he said. You okay? You sound weird in my head. I let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. I just learned I'm a bridge. There was a pause. Come again? Transitional, I said, my voice steady in a way that didn't match the shaking in my hands. A safety net, an amenity until he upgrades. Liam went very quiet. Where are you? He asked finally. Bean and Branch, I said, the place with the allegedly sadistic chairs. Stay there, he said. I'm on my way. He got there 15 minutes later, out of breath, hair a mess. He slid into the seat across from me and looked directly into my face. What happened? He asked. So I told him. Every word, every laugh, every casual cruelty. By the time I finished, his jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle ticking. I'm going to kill him, he said quietly. Get in line, I muttered. He scrubbed a hand over his face. Bells, I don't even know what to say. This is evil. It's strategic, I corrected. He has a whole timeline. Clara, Miami, me on the back burner until further notice. Liam's eyes flashed. What are you going to do? A week ago I would have said, confront him, cry, beg for an explanation. Now, sitting in the echoes of Jake's contempt, something else took shape instead. I'm not going to scream, I said slowly. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to let him gaslight me out of what I heard. Liam leaned forward. So what then? I'm going to stop playing the clueless girlfriend, I said. If this is a game to him? I met Liam's eyes, feeling something hard and unfamiliar settle into place. Then I'm going to learn every rule before I flip the board. Liam exhaled. You sure you want to do that? I'm sure of one thing, I said. I'm done being a bridge. I closed my laptop, Milo's face winking out. For the first time since Romano's, my thoughts felt clear. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew this much. Jake thought he was the only one strategizing. He was wrong. When I got home that night, Jake was already on the couch, feet up, scrolling through his phone like the world hadn't just shifted sideways. He looked up briefly. Hey, Bells, you okay? You look tired. Tired. If he only knew. But the thing about planning is, you don't show all your cards at once. I smiled, the same soft, predictable smile he'd grown comfortable with. Just a long day. He nodded, already returning to whatever was on his screen. Clara, probably. I headed to the bedroom, Milo trailing behind me with his little chirps. He jumped onto the bed and curled into a warm orange loaf, blinking slowly, as if he knew something dark was settling into the shadows of our home. I sank into the mattress and stared at the ceiling. Transitional, safety net, upgrade. Every word echoed like a bruise blooming under my skin. For anyone else, that would have been the end, the final straw, the breakup speech rehearsed in the mirror. But not for me. Not after everything I heard. Not after seeing how carefully Jake was controlling the narrative. Not after learning he wasn't just unfaithful, he was strategic. If I confronted him now, he'd run circles around me. Minimize, deny, twist, deflect. He was a master of plausible lies. He'd say the conversation wasn't serious, that I misheard, that I was emotional, that Mark exaggerated. And if I pushed hard enough, he'd flip it on me. Why were you spying? Why don't you trust me? You're being insecure. No, he wasn't getting that chance. If he was going to play chess with my life, I would learn the board better than him. And so began the quietest war of my life. The next morning, Jake kissed me goodbye, his lips brushing my cheek like a man who believed he had everything under control. Don't forget, he said lightly. I'm working late tonight. Big project. Of course, I said. I'll see you after. He flashed me a grin that used to feel warm. Now it just looked cheap. As soon as the door shut, Milo jumped onto the kitchen counter, meowing as if to say, Well, I whispered back. We begin. And we did. The phone bill. First step, gather intel. We shared a phone plan. It wasn't something I thought about often. Autopay made it invisible. But now, every detail mattered. I pulled up the account online. Message logs, call logs, unknown numbers. One number was listed dozens of times a day. Not just once or twice, but constantly. Morning, lunch break, after work, late at night. Not saved as a contact. Not labeled at all. Just 10 digits that suddenly felt like coordinates on a map leading straight to the truth. I copied it down. The perfect opportunity. 2 nights later, it happened. Jake fell asleep on the couch, laptop open on his lap, phone loose in his hand. Milo curled by his feet like a tiny, furry accomplice. My heart pounded so loudly I worried it would wake him. I didn't touch his phone. I didn't need to. When the screen lit up from a notification, it unlocked with Face ID, angled perfectly toward his resting face. One gentle nudge was all it took for the messages to appear. My hands shaking, I leaned forward. The chat was open. Clara. The tiny, mocking star at the end of her name felt like salt on a wound. And then I saw the texts. Dozens of them. Lines and lines of a separate life I had never been meant to see. Just need to keep Bella on the hook until everything's finalized. My breath hitched. Clara. Once Ethan signs, we'll be free. I know it's taking forever. Jake. Bella is easy. She thinks we're working on things. I'll manage her. Manage me. Like I was an expense. A task. A variable to be controlled. Clara. What if she proposes again before we're ready? Jake. Then I say yes. Play along. Keep her quiet until we're set. Then I'll dump her clean. Clara. She'll be crushed. Jake. That's not my problem. She's too attached anyway. I clamped my hand over my mouth, terrified I'd scream. My eyes blurred with tears I refused to let fall. Attached, desperate, transitional, replaceable. Every word carved into me like a blade. But I kept reading, because I needed to know everything. Miami. My stomach twisted when I reached the bottom of the thread. Clara. Miami is booked. Same dates as the conference. You're mine for a week. Jake. She bought the lie. She even said she's proud of me. God, she's so gullible. Gullible! There it was, the final insult. I took a shaky breath and lifted my phone. Screenshots, dozens, every message, every timestamp, every lie. Milo jumped onto the couch, curling up beside me as if sensing the earthquake beneath my skin. Good boy, I whispered, my voice breaking. You're coming with me. He blinked slowly as if he already knew. The aftermath. When I slipped the phone gently back into Jake's hand, he didn't stir. But something inside me had turned to stone. I sat on the floor beside the couch, wiping my face, letting everything burn through me. Anger, hurt, humiliation, shock, resolve. By the time the sun rose, I was empty. Empty, but clear. Jake wasn't confused. He wasn't scared. He wasn't overwhelmed. He was calculating. Every smile, every kiss, every we'll revisit later, every you're paranoid. All of it was strategy. and I was done being the mark. Liam. I met Liam the next afternoon. He took one look at me and swore under his breath. "Show me," he said. So I did. He scrolled through the screenshots, jaw tightening with every swipe. "Jesus," he whispered. "Bella, this is cold, like sociopath cold. Tell me something I don't know." He looked up. "You can't stay here. You can't just sit and wait for him to act." "I won't," I whispered. "What are you going to do?" I exhaled long and steady. "I'm going to let him think nothing's wrong," I said. Liam blinked. "Why?" "Because if I confront him now, he'll lie, he'll twist, he'll delete everything. He'll make me look like the crazy one." Liam leaned back slowly. "So what's the plan?" I swallowed hard. "The plan," I said, "is to be smarter than him, to move quietly, to get proof, to protect myself, to take Milo, to walk away without giving him a chance to hurt me again." "And then?" he asked. "And then," I repeated, feeling something new in my chest, something sharp, steady, awake. "Then I'm going to end this on my terms." Liam nodded slowly, eyes softening. "That's my girl." I didn't smile, because this wasn't a victory. Not yet. But it was the first move. The following week felt like living a double life, but not the way Jake thought. He believed he was the mastermind, the strategist, the one quietly choreographing 2 relationships at once while keeping me neatly tucked into the corner of his plans. He had no idea I'd stopped being part of his plan the moment I heard him call me transitional. From then on, every smile I gave him was rehearsed. Every kiss was calculated. Every sure babe was a thread in the net I was weaving around him. But leaving someone like Jake isn't as simple as packing a suitcase and slamming a door. People like him weaponize plausible deniability. They twist narratives. They flip guilt. They rewrite history before the ink even dries. I needed more than screenshots. I needed safety, stability, and a soft landing for Milo and me. So I began preparing my exit like a military operation. Step 1. The money. We had a joint account for bills and household expenses. Neither of us dumped all our income there, but both of us deposited predictable amounts. Jake had no idea I handled 80% of the financial organization. He assumed I just let things auto-pay like he did. That ignorance saved me. I opened a separate private account at a different bank, moved half my personal savings quietly, incrementally, transfers small enough not to raise flags. I left the joint account untouched otherwise. Jake would never notice. He didn't know the balance from one week to the next. Step 2. The documents. Birth certificate, insurance papers, tax folders, a decade's worth of employment records, my passport, all packed into a discreet tote bag and taken to work with me one piece at a time. Jake thought my tote was full of spreadsheets and logistics plans? Good. Step 3. The apartment. Liam knew someone who had a small studio opening up in 3 weeks. Deposit paid. Lease signed. Keys hidden under my winter sweaters. It wasn't big, but the windows faced west, catching the gold of sunset every day. Milo would like sunbathing there. I knew it already. Step 4. Ethan, Clara's husband. Or rather, Clara's still husband. It took me 2 full days to debate whether I should contact him. Not out of sympathy for Clara. She'd thrown me under the bus without knowing my name. But because Ethan deserved to know the truth, and because the truth was bigger than Jake's betrayal of me. This wasn't just an affair. This was deliberate, overlapping deception, financial entanglement, secret trips, manipulation so deep it created parallel lives. I finally worked up the courage and sent him a message from a clean, new email. "Hello, Ethan. We don't know each other. I'm reaching out because I believe your wife is involved with my boyfriend. I have proof. I'm not trying to destroy anyone. I just think we both deserve clarity." The message sat for hours. I paced my living room. Milo watched me with resigned confusion. Then my phone buzzed. "Ethan, please send what you have. I'm ready to know the truth." So I sent it. Every screenshot, every date, every timestamp, every Miami plan, every cruel word. He didn't reply for almost 30 minutes. Then, "Ethan, thank you. This isn't the first time, but it will be the last. Can we talk?" I met him at a quiet tea shop the next day. He looked exhausted. Not angry, not animated, just deeply, quietly hurt. When he spoke, his voice was calm. "She told Jake I'm dragging out the divorce," he said. "But the truth is, she never filed anything, and I've been paying our bills, our mortgage, her car, everything." I swallowed. "I'm sorry, you didn't deserve this." He gave a sad half smile. "Neither did you." We talked for nearly an hour. He asked nothing invasive, no probing questions, just details, dates, overlap, what Jake had said, what Clara had promised. And then he said the words that changed everything. "I'm done," he whispered. "This time, really done." "What are you going to do?" I asked softly. "File," he said, resolve sharpening in his eyes. "Freeze the accounts I control. Change the locks. Inform her workplace. And when she gets back from Miami..." He exhaled, slow and steady. She'll be served." I nodded, feeling something in me unwind. Not relief exactly, but recognition. He wasn't planning revenge. He was planning an escape. Just like me. At the end of our meeting, he hesitated. "If you ever need anything," he said gently, "support, or even just someone who understands, you can reach out." His kindness almost undid me. People underestimate how devastating betrayal is. It rots your self-worth from the inside. You start to feel stupid, small, unlovable. Ethan didn't say any comforting cliches. He didn't pity me. He didn't judge me. He just understood. Step 5, Miami. Jake announced it 3 nights later at dinner, like he was doing me a favor. "So, figured I should tell you. There's a work conference next month in Miami," he said casually between bites of pasta. "It's a big deal. Networking, panels, probably long days." My heart went still. The Miami trip, the one he booked with Clara. I stirred my food calmly. "That's amazing," I said. "I'm really proud of you." He didn't expect pride. His eyebrows twitched in surprise. "Really?" "Of course," I said with a soft smile. "It's a huge opportunity." He relaxed instantly, almost too instantly. Yeah, he said, puffing up. "It'll be good for my career. Good for us, you know?" Career, us. He used words like they were props. I tilted my head innocently. "When is it?" He listed the exact dates from Clara's screenshots. I nodded. "Maybe I could fly down for a weekend and surprise you." He froze. I watched panic flash across his eyes like a storm cloud passing over the sun. "No," he said quickly. "I mean, no need. I'll be in meetings all day. Total chaos. You'd hate it." "I wouldn't mind," I shrugged. "No," he repeated sharply. "Seriously, it wouldn't be fun." I let myself look wounded for a fraction of a second, just long enough. Then I softened. "You're right," I murmured. "I don't want to be a distraction." He relaxed again. "Exactly." Inside, something cold smiled. I wasn't done gathering pieces yet. Step 6, ring shopping. A week after that, he brought it up casually. Maybe we should look at rings again. Together this time. You'd think he was offering to split dessert, not enter a lifelong contract. I smiled sweetly. I'd love that. We went to Tiffany & Co. He tried on rings like auditioning for a role. He picked one worth more than my car. He turned to me, eyes shining. "This one. This is what I meant. It's perfect, right?" "It's beautiful," I said. He beamed. The saleswoman boxed it up to size. 4 weeks until pickup. Perfect. 4 weeks. Before the conference, before Miami, before he thought I'd propose again. 4 weeks for everything to come together. I held his hand as we left the boutique. He kissed my temple. "I feel like we're really getting back on track," he murmured. I leaned into him, smiling softly. But inside? Inside, I knew something he didn't. He thought he was tightening the leash. He didn't realize he was walking himself straight into the fire. By the time Jake boarded his flight to Miami with Clara, the entire trap was already strung above his head, thread by thread, knot by knot. And all I had to do was wait for gravity to do the rest. He kissed me at the airport curb like he was a devoted boyfriend heading off to conquer the corporate world. "Call you tonight," he promised, squeezing my waist. "I'll miss you," I lied, soft and believable. He grinned, smug in the way men get smug when they think they're smarter than you. "Be good while I'm gone." I forced a soft laugh. "You too." We both knew he wouldn't be, but only one of us knew it mattered. When he rolled his suitcase towards security, I watched his back until he disappeared around the corner. Then I pulled out my phone. Time for Phase 2. Phase 2, the Exodus. Jake had barely cleared TSA when I headed home and went to work. I had one rule, leave just enough behind that he wouldn't instantly know I was gone. Not yet. Clothes? I packed the pieces I loved and left the ones he didn't notice. Shoes? Same strategy. Bathroom items? One by one, gone. Replaced with travel-sized duplicates. Decor? Tricky. I left what felt us and took what was actually mine. But the essentials, the ones that mattered, went into boxes and bags and the trunk of Liam's car. Documents, electronics, keepsakes, family photos, my grandmother's necklace, everything Jake would weaponize if he realized I was leaving, gone. And then came the most important passenger of all. I found Milo perched on the top of our bookshelf, watching me like a tiny orange judge, tail flicking like a metronome. "I know," I whispered, scooping him up. "We're leaving." He immediately headbutted my chin and purred like a tiny engine. Yeah, I murmured, throat tight. I'm taking you with me, obviously. He blinked at me like he expected nothing less. I strapped his carrier into the car next to me. He howled the entire drive. Milo hated moving. But once we carried him into my studio, he sniffed every corner with cautious delight. A new kingdom, a new castle, a new chance. For both of us. Phase 3, destroying their fairy tale. Ethan and I had synchronized clocks by now. Not romantically. We weren't even friends yet. Just two wounded people sharing the burden of clarity. While Jake lounged on a beach with Clara, posting fake view from the conference room boomerangs, Ethan was preparing for execution. Bank accounts closed, credit cards frozen, locks changed, a note left on the counter. Please do not return without your attorney. He messaged me. Ethan, it's done. Divorce papers will be served at his office the minute he lands back from Miami. You okay? I replied. Me, yes, we're almost there. Almost. Phase 4, the false proposal. Jake returned on a Sunday evening, tan and glowing with the self-satisfaction of a man who believed he had successfully deceived everyone in his life. He walked through his door pretending to be exhausted. Oh, so many meetings, he complained. Networking is brutal. I kissed his cheek and murmured, You worked so hard. I'm proud of you. His eyes warmed. That specific warmth of a man who believes he has his woman exactly where he wants her. He didn't notice that the apartment felt slightly lighter, or that Milo trotted out from the bedroom instead of appearing from his usual nap space, or that the framed photos had changed from us to just me. He noticed nothing. That's the thing about people who think they're smarter than you. They never, ever see you coming. The setup. He showered. I cooked. We sat on the couch and watched a show he didn't actually like but pretended to for my sake. Halfway through, I touched his arm lightly. Can you keep Tuesday night free? I asked. He raised a brow. Why? I have something special planned. His smile turned greedy. The proposal? I hesitated, just enough to lure him deeper. You'll see, I whispered. He kissed my hand like he'd already won. The Reserve. Tuesday evening, I arrived early at the Reserve, the city's most expensive restaurant, booked weeks in advance under the guise of my redo proposal. I'd rented the private event room. Jake thought it would be filled with candles, rose petals, a string quartet, champagne on ice. What he didn't know was that I had removed the quartet, canceled the champagne, rearranged the room into rows of chairs facing a projector screen, replaced twinkle lights with cold overhead lighting, placed a discreet box of tissues near the door. Instead of a romantic fantasy, the room looked like a corporate presentation. Or a courtroom. I had invited everyone, his parents included, under the guise of celebrating our new engagement. They arrived giddy and excited. His mother brought a wrapped gift. His father shook my hand warmly. My stomach churned, but my voice stayed steady. Thank you for coming. Please have a seat. Liam was in the back, jaw tight. Tessa had come too, she'd insisted, and sitting in the second row, hands folded neatly in his lap, was Ethan. Silent, poised, ready. Jake arrives. Jake walked in at 7:32 p.m., 2 minutes late, and 100% certain he was entering the spotlight of his own curated victory. He wore the shirt he thought made him look like a CEO. He carried himself like a man walking into applause. But the moment he stepped inside, confusion flickered across his face. Bells? He laughed lightly. What's all this? Where's the table? I stepped into the center of the room. Sit down, Jake. He blinked. What? Sit, I repeated, my voice steady. He looked around, at his parents, at our friends, at the projection screen. What's going on? I clicked the remote. The screen lit up. The real story. The first slide appeared, a screenshot of his messages with Clara. Jake's face went white. His mother gasped softly. His father sat rigid. Mark, who I invited out of pure poetic justice, muttered, "Oh, shit." Jake jumped to his feet. Bella, this is being taken out of... I clicked to the next slide. Bella is transitional. I'll keep her on the hook. I'll say yes, fake it, dump her later. His mother slapped a hand over her mouth. Jake lunged for the projector. Liam stepped in front of him. Sit down, he growled. Jake froze. I clicked again. Pictures appeared. Miami Beach selfies Clara had saved to a shared cloud. A hotel bed. Their drinks clinking with the caption, "To our escape." Jake's mother whispered, "Oh my God." But the final slide was the knockout punch. A fresh message, time-stamped 1 hour earlier, from Clara. Clara, Ethan knows. He's leaving me. I need a place to stay. We need to talk. Jake stared at it like it was written in blood. And then Ethan stood up. He walked calmly to the front of the room, opened a folder, and placed a stack of papers on the table in front of Jake. Divorce papers. Jake's voice cracked. No, 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 please, Ethan, you don't understand. Ethan didn't look at him. He looked at me. Thank you, he said quietly, for telling the truth. I nodded, my throat tightening. He turned to Jake. Do not contact my wife again, he said, voice like steel. And do not contact me. Then he left. The break. Jake stumbled towards me, face blotchy, voice trembling. Bella, please, baby, I can explain. This, I said quietly, is everything you planned. I just put it in a slideshow. His eyes filled with tears. Don't do this, he whispered. We can fix this. You were never planning to fix anything, I said softly. You were planning to use me until something better worked out. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. No, Jake, I whispered. I'm done being your bridge. Jake collapsed into the nearest chair, shaking. His mother couldn't look at him. His father stared at the floor. Our friends sat in stunned silence. I walked to the door, my heart pounding but steady. Before I stepped out, I turned back. This was supposed to be our engagement party, I said softly. But instead, it's my exit. And with that, I left him sitting there under the harsh white lights, drowning in the truth he had created himself. For the first time in months, I slept without grinding my teeth. No nightmares, no waking up to check Jake's side of the bed, no dread curling in my stomach before my eyes even opened. Just me, my breath, and Milo curled against my ribs like a tiny furnace. Freedom, I learned, is quiet. It doesn't roar, it exhales. The aftermath, aka the crumble. Jake's destruction didn't happen all at once. It happened like dominoes, slow, inevitable, each piece knocking the next down with cruel precision. Domino number 1, Ethan's divorce papers. Jake tried to spin the story first. He called Clara, called Mark, called his mother, called anyone who might help him reshape the narrative. But the truth was out, and everyone in that room had seen the slideshow. There was no twisting screenshots, no rebranding infidelity as confusion, no painting himself as the victim. He tried anyway. Jake texted me. We need to talk. This isn't fair. I didn't deserve that ambush. I blocked him. He emailed. You blindsided me. After everything we've built, I want my stuff back. I replied once. Me. Your things are in a storage unit. Code is tam. Please stop contacting me. I blocked him there too. Domino number 2, work. It didn't take long for the affair to spill into Jake's professional life. Tessa told me later what happened. Someone forwarded HR the screenshots from the slideshow. Not from me, but from someone in the room who believed cheaters shouldn't lead teams. Jake was called in. Clara was called in. Investigation opened. Reports filed. Several policies breached. Clara was suspended pending review. Jake was terminated a week later. Officially, violation of company ethics and conduct policies. Unofficially, he was stupid enough to date his boss's wife and reckless enough to leave a digital paper trail. Domino number 3, Clara. When it became clear Ethan was truly divorcing her, not threatening, not arguing, acting, her facade crumbled too. She lost the home, lost the financial cushion, lost the social circle, lost the safety net she'd assumed Ethan's wealth guaranteed. And Jake? He was now more financial liability than prize. They ended up living together in a cramped studio apartment near Westfield, a place I wouldn't have chosen for storage. Tessa gave me the update with a guilty whisper. They fight constantly. He resents her for not being the woman he imagined Clara would be, Ethan's wife. And she resents him for not being her ticket out of her marriage. It's a mess. A beautifully poetic mess. Domino number 4, the social fallout. Then came the social avalanche. Tara, Clara's close friend, commented publicly when Clara tried to spin a victim narrative online. Clara posted something self-pitying. Some people weaponize money and power to ruin relationships. I'm healing from emotional abuse and financial abandonment. Tara responded, Girl, you cheated. Stop it. Then others joined in. Clara, you literally bragged about the Miami trip. Didn't you say Bella was a placeholder? This is embarrassing. She locked her account within hours. Jake didn't fare better. His attempt at playing the victim was equally pathetic. He told some mutual friends I'd humiliated him and acted controlling. They sent me screenshots. I never replied. I didn't have to. Tessa and Liam and half our friend group shut his spin down instantly. Tessa, she didn't humiliate you. You humiliated yourself. Liam, imagine being mad someone exposed your lies. Another friend, don't cheat if you don't want consequences. Jake unfriended everyone within a day. Domino number 5, the intercom scene. He didn't show up immediately. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of silence, except for the occasional unknown number, which I never answered. Then, one night, I was heating up soup while Milo attempted to commit tax fraud on my laptop keyboard when the intercom started buzzing like someone was leaning their whole body weight onto it. I checked the building camera. Jake, disheveled, glassy-eyed, face puffy, like he'd been crying or drinking, maybe both. "Bella," he shouted, slamming the buzzer. "I know you're up there." I muted the intercom and watched. He kept buzzing, kept yelling, kept pacing the entrance like an animal caught in a trap. Finally, I pressed the talk button. "Leave." His head snapped up. "Baby, please," he sobbed. "Everything's falling apart. Clara lied. Clara used me. Clara's cheating on me now." A laugh burst out of me before I could stop it. He flinched. "That sounds," I said calmly, "like a you problem." "Bella, please, you don't understand." "Oh, I do," I said softly. "More than you think." He gripped the metal railing like it was the edge of a cliff. "I made a mistake," he begged. "A huge one. I see that now. I lost my job, my apartment. I have nothing left." I raised a brow. "That's interesting, because I distinctly remember you saying I was just a safety net, a bridge, a placeholder." His face collapsed. "I didn't mean that," he whispered. "But you did," I corrected. "You meant every word." He shook his head violently. I need somewhere to stay. Please, just for a night. Please." There it was, the core of his desperation, the truth beneath the tears. He didn't want me. He wanted stability. Mine, my savings, my organization, my shoulders to cry on, my apartment, my warmth, my forgiveness. The same stability he called desperate when he thought he didn't need it. "No," I said simply. He choked on a sob. "Please, please, don't do this. Don't leave me like this." "You left me long before this," I said quietly. Then I pressed the button. "Disconnect." His voice vanished mid-scream. I set the intercom back onto the hook with a calmness that surprised even me. Milo stared at me from the couch, blinking. "I know," I whispered. "It's done." Jake stayed outside for another hour, alternating between screaming, crying, bargaining, and begging until a neighbor finally called the cops. I logged the incident into my restraining order paperwork the next morning. And just like that, Jake Thompson ceased to be part of my life. Not with a bang, not with a dramatic chase, just silence. Beautiful, clean silence. The rebuild. Healing didn't happen fast. Betrayal sticks to you like tar. Even when you've washed it off, you still feel it on your skin sometimes. I kept my circle small. I kept my world quiet. On weekends, Liam and I ate takeout on my tiny floor mattress. On rainy mornings, I read books by the window with Milo purring on my lap. I bought plants. I bought new sheets. I bought groceries Jake would have called boring. Most importantly, I bought peace. The unexpected turn. Ethan and I didn't talk for weeks after the ambush at the reserve. Not out of avoidance, just mutual exhaustion. Then one afternoon I got a text. "Ethan, I hope you're okay. I adopted a dog today. He's chaos. 10-10 would not recommend as a coping mechanism." I snorted so hard Milo jumped. I replied, "Pics or it didn't happen." He sent a picture of a droopy-eyed rescue hound flopped dramatically across his lap. That's how our conversations restarted. Slow, sensitive, two people who understood pain fluently. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became movie nights. Movie nights became hikes. We didn't label anything, didn't rush, didn't pretend we were healed. We just grew at our own pace. He never once compared me to Clara. I never once mentioned Jake unless he asked. It was the healthiest silence I'd ever known. Sometimes we'd talk about the night of the slideshow, the shock, the humiliation, the relief. And once, after a quiet dinner, Ethan said, "It's ironic, isn't it? They were building a future on our backs, and now we're the ones moving forward." I smiled. "A poetic upgrade," I said softly. He laughed, a real warm sound, and took my hand gently, not claiming, just holding. I didn't pull away. The full circle. Months later, I saw Jake and Clara at a farmer's market. They looked washed out, tired, dragging a cheap rolling cart behind them, arguing under their breath. Jake saw me first. His face shifted, guilt, longing, panic. Ethan squeezed my hand. "Want to leave?" he murmured. "No," I said, surprising myself. "I want to walk right past." Jake's eyes darted to Ethan, then Milo's picture on my tote bag. His mouth opened. I kept walking. No gloating, no smirk, no last word. Just a quiet, polite smile. Because the best revenge isn't public humiliation. It isn't karma crashing down. It isn't the downfall of the person who betrayed you. The best revenge, Is a life so peaceful and self-owned that they can't touch it anymore. I squeezed Ethan's hand as we walked away. I'm really okay, I whispered. He nodded. I know. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I believed it. I used to think closure came from the person who hurt you. An apology, an explanation, some last honest conversation that tied the ending into a neat bow. But real closure doesn't come from anyone but yourself. What Jake gave me wasn't closure, it was clarity. And clarity is a painful, necessary gift. What I built afterward, the quiet, the boundaries, the new beginnings, that was closure. The slow, steady healing. My life didn't magically become amazing the moment Jake disappeared from it. Healing was slow. It came in small, ordinary things. Carrying groceries up to my apartment without feeling dread. Waking up rested instead of hypervigilant. Drinking coffee in silence without waiting for someone to accuse me of being moody. Realizing I didn't have to monitor someone's tone, schedule, or phone habits. Buying a new duvet cover because I liked the color, not because it matched a vibe someone else wanted. Milo adjusted faster than I expected. He sprawled across my new couch like he owned it, sunbathed on the windowsill, and followed me from room to room with big orange velvet eyes. Every night, he curled up beside me as if to say, "We made it out." And we had. Ethan. Not a rebound, but a revelation. Ethan and I didn't rush. We didn't jump into anything reckless. We didn't cling to each other out of trauma. If anything, we respected each other too much to do that. Our first date wasn't planned. We were supposed to grab coffee. My car battery died. He came to jump it. We ended up on the curb eating pastries from a paper bag, talking about music, childhood crushes, our pets, books, our weirdest habits, why Milo was absolutely judging him, who we were before everything fell apart. There was no flirting, no sparkly tension, just ease, which is rarer than attraction. He said something that stuck with me that day. People say pain makes you stronger. I think it just makes you careful. Strength comes from what you do after. That was the moment he shifted from someone who understands to someone I want to understand. Over the next months, coffee became a weekly ritual. Weekly became twice a week. Twice a week became, hey, I'm nearby. Want to grab lunch? Lunch turned into small errands together. Errands became movie nights. Movie nights turned into him fixing the wobbly shelf in my apartment and Milo headbutting his elbow affectionately. One evening, halfway through a quiet walk, Ethan brushed his fingers against mine. It wasn't a move. It was a question. I intertwined my fingers with his. That was the answer. No fireworks, just right. A slow burn, grown-up kind of right. The kind that doesn't take from you, it adds. Running into the past and watching it stay there. Months later, when I ran into Jake and Clara at the farmer's market, something unexpected happened. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. My knees didn't go weak. I didn't feel rage or triumph or embarrassment. Just distance. Jake looked worn down. A ghost of the polished man he used to present himself as. Clara looked irritated and tired, snapping at him for walking too slow, holding the grocery list like a weapon. There was no sparkle between them, no electric chemistry, just two people stuck in the wreckage they built together. Jake opened his mouth when he saw me, maybe to apologize, maybe to beg, maybe to rewrite history. I didn't give him the chance. I walked past with a soft, neutral smile. Not bitterness, not smugness, just peace. He blinked, stunned, like he was staring at someone who had slipped out of the cage he'd designed. Because I had. That wasn't a triumph, it was a release. The real end of the story. People ask what the big lesson was. Was it, trust your gut? Don't ignore red flags? Never depend on someone else for your security? Always keep extra savings and your documents in order? Sure, those things matter. But the lesson that changed me was quieter. You cannot lose a person who was never holding you with both hands. Jake didn't fall out of love with me. He was never truly invested to begin with. And that wasn't my failure. It was his truth. My truth was this. I survived. I rebuilt. I learned. I grew. I loved again. And I did it without becoming bitter or small. The night before our first real date, Ethan texted me. Ethan, I don't want to rush anything, but I think we could be something good, Bella. Slow, careful, honest good. I stared at the message for a long time, not because I was unsure, but because someone wanting to move slowly, with intention, was new to me. Me. Slow sounds perfect. And it was. Epilogue. The quiet truth. Jake and I haven't spoken since the intercom meltdown. He tried once more, through a mutual friend, but the message never reached me until much later. Tell Bella I'm sorry. I didn't realize what I had. But that's the thing about people like him. They never realize the value of something until they've lost access to it. And by then, it's not theirs anymore. I don't check his social media. I don't wonder what he's doing. I don't stalk Clara. I don't revisit the screenshots. I don't replay the slideshow. He is simply someone I used to know, someone who taught me exactly what I never want again. Now, my mornings start with Milo purring against my shoulder, sunlight warming my blankets, and Ethan sometimes asleep beside me, hand loosely draped over mine. My life is quiet, steady, soft, mine. To anyone reading this, if something in your gut tells you something is wrong, listen. If someone shows you their priorities, believe them. If someone calls you transitional, walk, no, run. Because there are people who will choose you on purpose, who won't leverage you, who won't manage you, who won't need better timing to treat you with respect. There are people who see you not as a placeholder, but as a partner. And if you haven't met them yet, be that person for yourself first. You deserve love that doesn't require surveillance. You deserve honesty that doesn't need proof. You deserve peace that doesn't depend on someone else's choices. I found mine, not through revenge, but through release. And I promise, once you choose yourself, everything else gets easier.